Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are around the world. Welcome back to SimPlay Motorsport. It is Pro Night here at the circuit Zolder here in the heart of Belgium. Once again, we go racing in this beautiful country. The penultimate rounds of the season, Format B, that of the 15-minute reverse grid, followed by the 60-minute feature race with the mandatory 25 seconds held in the pit stops. Should be a cracking night's worth of racing action. Looking at the free practice times at this moment in time, the top 13 are separated by 0.8 of a second, and we're in for one heck of a night. We're expecting 20 cars out there on the grid. Currently 16 drivers are in the lobby, ready and waiting to go as we get ready to take on this fantastic circuit. I'm Mathew Duffin here on my own tonight as we get ready to go to possibly take one step closer to crowning our Season 11 Pro Champion in Platinum, in Gold and in the teams. But first, them championship points are as follows. Platinum is Class, who leads the way on 835 points. He's not here tonight. Vitas in second on 787 has a great chance to close the gap in this championship fight. Milliston is P3 on 755 from Marinich in fourth. Michael Harris is fifth on 624 with that of Mike Matthews in sixth place. Richie Michel is P7 from Patrick Leger in eighth. Pletasek is ninth from Dan Davis 10th and Sokolov in 11th. All of them drivers can still mathematically win the championship. It is from P12 down, that of Alexandrov, Overtaker, McKenzie, Ludovic, McGowan, Amigenda, Williams, Sotz and Ben Ruck cannot win it. In Gold, a similar story, but 1 point separating the top two. Matt Wright, who took the fastest lap at last week's race, in which we get the data from SimGrid after we go off of air. He took the fastest lap last week in the Gold category at Suzuka, putting 1 point clear of Thomas Cardno, making the Pretender the massive contender at the moment. Cardno, though, still in with a great shout. His pace has been fantastic in practice and qualifying in recent weeks. Needs to convert that qualifying pace into race pace if he's to take the gold today. Damien Hibbs is a little bit further back. 533 Matt Wright is on. 478 for Damien Hibbs. Miger has been impressive recently. He's on 447 with John Gooday on 408. Sam Williams on 377. Benny Varga on 366. Prestige on 341 with DeCourt and Piras still in contention. For Herendich, Vasic, Leach and Gillies, they are all out of the reckoning for winning the championship this season. In the teams, again, it's 10 teams that can also still win that team's championship, with the likes of Balkan Esports leading the way, only by 14 points from Greasy Bandits Racing. BSHOZ Racing a P3. From then, that of Team SPR in fourth. SimPlay Racing a P5 from 4Dave Racing in sixth. Balkan Sim Hub a seventh from Richie's Course. Team GBR and MMS Racing can all still take that glory. For Quantum Motorsport, MSA Racing, Sleepy Lizards, MSA, BSH Spinners and BAL Racing, they no longer can win that championship. So we'll have to wait and see what will happen in this race coming up later on in the programme today. We've got that 15-minute sprint, like we said, followed by the 60-minute race and the 25 seconds stationary pit stop time for the drivers tonight, as opposed to the splash and dash strategies that drivers can do. We're just up to 19 drivers in the lobby now, so one missing from tonight's action. Overtaker, Vasic and Vitas have just got themselves into the lobby as we can head over to the racing action now. I've actually pressed the wrong screen, so you're going to see me again. We can head over to the racing action now to see what will happen in this practice session with 6 minutes left on the clock. So then, as we can see in free practice at the moment, this is going to be an interesting session indeed, because 9/10 separate the top 14 drivers in this one at the moment, and this is what is going to make it an interesting race. Miger needs to just find that little bit more pace, as does Prestige, to be getting within that second of the rest of the pack. Vitas, Overtaker and Vasic yet to see their lap times, see what they can do. But it's Alexandrinov who's just topped the timing sheets at the moment. From then that of the 10-time champion Dan Davis, as the camera's struggling to pick him up. There he is. Mike Matthews is currently running in third from Brandon Williams. They're all separated, the top four, by less than a tenth of a second. So a great effort in this session at the moment. Richie Michel is P5 as Brandon Williams just goes to the top of the timing tower, separating the top four now by less than half a tenth of a second. Richie Michel is currently P5 with Michael Harris in 6th. Piras is 7th from Ian McGowan. Thomas Cardno from Sokolov. Benny Varga from Goudet. Matt Wright. Damien Hibbs. Maiga, Prestige, Vitas, Overtaker and Vasic, who have only just got in the lobby and not yet set a representative lap time at this moment. But for Michael Harris, the man who could be looking to try and take back-to-back race wins here. He took the race win back at Suzuka last time out, if you remember, and was the man to take the glory in quite dominant fashion at the Suzuka track race last week in the night conditions as well. As we can say a good evening to Gary Clarble, Mike Matthews, B. Dunk, Neil Broom, Rob Smith, Peaceful Stepdad in there as well. We're not going to read all the comments out, but evening to Gary Clarble. Good luck tonight, boys. Have a good race, says Neil Broom. Evening all, says Rob Smith. And Rob Smith also says, surprised they aren't much faster than us last night. And Peaceful Stepdad saying, good evening, everyone. Good luck tonight. Good evening to yourself. Peaceful Stepdad and Neil and Rob and Gary Clarble. As for Mike and Bradley, well, you know what I think. Fluffy time. That's crazy. Either way, this race should be an absolute nail-biter to the very, very end. It's going to be an interesting one for sure to see how it plays out. Here at Zolder, a tight technical circuit in which we should be able to see what the drivers are made of in this one. Benny Varga says the field's looking close tonight. Good evening, by the way. Good evening, Benny. Yes, it is looking close indeed. As the field does look incredibly close here at Zolder. And like we said, with Mike Matthews actually now. Wow, Mike Matthews, you know, when he stops calling me Fluffy Duffy, he's actually gone to the top of the timing tower. He's actually looking pretty decent tonight, considering he's done no practice and was a little bit concerned about his pace tonight. He's actually looking rather good. But what an incredibly close field this is. Vitas yet to set a lap time on the board, so Vitas could just come and blow everybody out the water in a moment. But this field looks incredibly tight out there. It is 33 thousandths of a second separating the top four at the moment. That is mighty close, as here comes Brandon Williams through the hairpin at the moment in time. Might have to see how Bradley likes it. Pull him in the comms box and question him. Nah, I'm only joking, Brad. Love you, really. Great to everybody in the chat, though, so far. Keep your... Oh, Benny. No, Benny. You're probably in the team chat with them, aren't you? And you've just... Oh, Benny Varga, you've let yourself down there. Should be an interesting race tonight. I'm really looking forward to this one. Zolder's a personal favourite of mine. And we'll see what the lap times are. But Brandon Williams didn't go quicker than Mike Matthews there. Just going to check on Vitas. Crosses the line. 1.9 off the pace. So struggling already at the moment out there and on his first flying lap. Overtaker's out there on an out lap. Vasic hasn't yet come out. I don't know the driver that is missing at this moment in time. So I'm not quite sure as to who is not on in the lobby at the moment. So we are down to the 19 drivers. As we'll see who can do what in this one. Unorthodox in the chat. And Bradley as well. You wouldn't be able to anyways. I hopped off for a bit to watch this. Ah, there we go, Brad. At least you're watching it. Good guy. What a man. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the thumbs up if you like we see it, and the bell to be notified when we go live, because it's the Donington Decider next week. And the weather looks a little spicy, let me tell you. Enjoy that one. Benny Varga saying, nope, actually I'm not. Don't have a mic and I'm tired. Too tired to listen to bullcrap. And you will get a lot of that in there, Benny, let me tell you. Brandon Williams has gone a little bit quicker. Overtaker on his first flying lap now. So Brandon Williams 200ths quicker than Mike, but still only half a tenth separating the top 4 in this session. Is absolutely incredible in this session at the moment. Vasic gone out there, but I don't think Vasic is going to get a lap time on the board. Where is the 381? No, he won't. He's not going to get around to set a lap time. Overtaker will come round to set a lap time, though. Could we be seeing, with class not here at the moment, and if that's Vitas's pace, could we be seeing a late charge for the championship from a couple of drivers in this one? We'll have to wait and see as this race night goes on. Should be a fascinating one to keep our eyes on indeed. As Overtaker's not actually going to show us his pace. He's going to dive back into the pit lane. What is Overtaker's stats around this circuit? Let's have a look. That's what I'm interested and keen to see. Overtaker around here, 1 pole position, 1 race win. Dan Davis, 1 pole position. Dan's never won at this circuit. Ian McGowan, I saw his name on the list a moment ago. Max Mulder, Holty Argent, Smithy, KLF, BT Targa, Sutty, Ben, Mordecai, Daz, De Silva, X-Fate, and Plava, Leon, Fernie, Mazda, Uckball, Maze Gamer, Smoky Devil, Nova, Nash, Alex, Kieran O'Reilly, Skunky. Richie Michelle's taken a pole position here. He's never won. Just trying to see any other names on this list. I'm not seeing any other names. Actually, no, I didn't see that of Ian McGowan, so I thought I did, but I obviously didn't. So Overtaker is actually the most successful driver around this circuit who's out there on track at the moment today with 1 win and 1 pole position to his name, and would love to obviously get a little higher up on that list once more. So we'll see what he can do. Here comes Vitas on his second flying lap, the only car left out on circuit. And let's just take a quick look at the timetable to see where that put him before we get through the grid order. It put him 4th, so we had 5 cars within a 1/10 of a second of each other. Right then, grid order for the first race of the night. It is Brandon Williams on pole position from Ian McGowan. Overtaker is alongside Alexandrov. Sokolov alongside Dan Davis, with Richie Michelle alongside Mike Matthews. Michael Harris lines up alongside Vitas, with Vasic lining up alongside nobody. So who is just ahead of Vasic in the Gold Championship? It's Herendich who's not turned up for this one at the moment. That's the missing driver. Piras is then alongside Prestige, with Benny Varga alongside Goudet, Miger alongside Hibbs, Cardno alongside Mathew Wright at the back of the field. So that is your grid order for this first race. Shorter grid once again as we come to the back end of the season. And we hope to find you all very, very well on this Thursday night. Very warm in the UK at the moment. Very, very warm in the UK. So a lot of the drivers in the UK are gonna really find it tough tonight. If I'm looking at the studio thermometer at the moment, it is 35 degrees in the studio, with a giant ass fan doing nothing at the moment. So hopefully the fan will start to cool it down. But we'll wait and see as we're about to go racing, about to get underway for the formation lap here this afternoon. It should be a fantastic day of racing action at the Circuit Zolder as we head to Donington Park next week for the final round of the season. But the racing action will not be too far away, because we'll have 1 week off before we're back on a Tuesday night for the extended Le Mans Ultimate Season 2 Hypercars and LMGT3s. And the sign-ups are looking pretty full for that one already. We are 18 LMGT3s, with 2 of them cars being reserved, so 16 full-time drivers there. And we've got 13 out of 18 Hypercars on the grid for next season. So it is already going to be a stellar season to see who can do what in this championship. It really should be to provide to be a great season with Interlagos, Imola, Fuji, Kota, Daytona, Spa, Silverstone, Sebring, Laguna, Qatar, the circuits that are there on the calendar this weekend. The track selection by the Patreons and admin members has been made. That will be ending tomorrow. So if you are a Patreon member and haven't got your vote in for a circuit, get your vote in now for that one, as the circuits with the highest number of votes will get added to the calendar with Donington Park. If there is a tie on votes, we'll spin the wheel of names to find out them. And then we'll spin the wheel of names for the morning, evening and night race once again here And we'd probably spin the wheel of names as well for the, depending on how many 90-minute or Format A, Format B races we do. Format A being the 90-minute races. Probably spin the wheel to see what they will be as well. I think that might be an interesting way to do that one. Brandon Williams on pole position, given his free practice pace. You have to fancy him, but we didn't see Overtaker set a lap time in this one. The next man to watch out for will be Dan Davis and Mike Mathews down in 7th and 8th to see what their progression through the field will be like. And what can Maddie Wright do over his rival of Tom Cardno, Hibbs, Maiger, Goudet? What's that going to be like? Them four trying to duke it out for gold honours this season. As the 15-minute sprint race is about to get underway in a few moments' time. They approach towards the final chicane for the first time of the night. This is we'll find out who is able to do what in this championship so far, because this could be a real interesting night of racing action here at Zolder, as the drivers are about to come towards the start-finish line now for the first time. Racing action here. Make them all 100 minutes next season. You know you want to. It will be discussed in the admin checks. I notice you have put it in the suggestions, Rob, so it will be discussed. But it's green and go here at Zolder for the first time tonight. Brendan Williams doesn't exactly get a great start. Ian McGowan already looking to the outside line. Overtaker has a cheeky look. That's Sokolov. In fact, that's Richie Michel. Michael Harris speared off with Richie Michel and his teammate Piras as well. Both off at turn number 1, so 3 of them onto the grass there as Brandon Williams got that phase out of turn 1. Better through the corner and has now managed to pull away from that of Overtaker, who's on the rear of Ian McGowan. Sokolov running in P4 at the moment from Alexandrov. Richie Michel down that order, as we know, as they all come flying in towards the end of the first sector. Dan Davis has managed to gain a few places. Vasic was reading that wrong. Williams leading them from McGowan and Overtaker at the moment. Alexandrov has dropped down. It is P5. P4 from Dan Davis, with Sokolov having Mike Mathews looking round the outside of him, and Mike Mathews, so much confidence tonight on the brakes, makes a great move into the second chicane. That's Vasic who is having a look on Maiger, and Matt Wright hasn't got the start he wanted. Harris on the back of Richie Michel early doors as well, and they're not too far off the back of the pack, so it's not going to be too bad for them at this stage of the race. But Ian McGowan pressurising Brandon Williams early doors here, and he's keeping the pressure on the race leader at the moment. Dan Davis getting closer to the back of Alexandrov. Mike Mathews will be looking to chase down that of Dan Davis as John Goudet just had a little look there on Prestige to make a move. If you're seeing cars going flying in the background, that's because they're diving straight into the pit lane, as Ian McGowan was one of the front runners, as was Alexandrov, as was Sokolov. Dan Davis came into the pit lane as well, although Davis is limited to come on after Sokolov. So did Dan Davis. Has Dan made a mistake somewhere? Because he's been jumped by Sokolov, Benny Varga and Hibbs then. A lot of cars into the pits already at the start of this, at the end of this first lap. Has, at the moment, John Goudet, closest car to making a move. He's putting the pressure on Prestige. Maiger is coming under pressure from Vasic. Matt Wright stayed out on tracks. He didn't do the early pit stop here in the 15-minute race. He's staying out to pick up some track... some free track at the moment, some clear track. Richie Michel and Piras also stayed out on the circuit, but Brandon Williams leads from Overtaker, leads from Mike Mathews, who also stayed out on the circuit. They are your top three. Goudet is still trying to put the pressure on the Ford Mustang of Prestige, as Vasic's Lexus also trying to put the pressure on the front engine car of Maiger, who looks like he's got a bit of damage on the front end of that Mercedes-Benz. He's got rear, and yes, he does have, as the camera pans around, front end damage on that Mercedes. You just see the bonnet bouncing around a little bit there, as it's just come a little bit loose with the damage to the front of that car. That's just going to hurt him in the straight lines with the aero speed, the aero package not delivering what it should be delivering then. And Maiger may look to get that repaired in the pits, but in the 15-minute race, who dares do that? As into the pits comes Mike Mathews at the end of lap number 2. If I was Mike, I'd have possibly stayed out one more lap. Vasic also into the pit lane. Goudet still trying to get close to the back of that of Prestige. Further down the order, McGowan come out ahead of Alexandrov, then Sokolov, Hibbs, Benny Varga, then Dan Davis. In fact, no, it's not, because Vitas, Cardno, and Harris all got out ahead of Dan Davis, as well as Vitas looking up the inside of Cardno and just cuts turn 1. That was a absolutely monstrous corner cut from Vitas there. absolutely crazy. He surely got to yield that place back to Thomas Cardno. He was fully off the circuit. That is crazy from Vitas there. Wow. Crazy to see. Tom Cardno's now coming under pressure from Michael Harris. This is riding on board the Lexus driver who just dips a wheel into the grass there. So loses all momentum. Mike and Vasic into the pits. Here comes Ian McGowan. Has Mike got the overcut done on McGowan? Vasic is already away in green. Mike Matthews having a bit of a longer stop here. Now goes green. A little further down the pit lane is Mike Matthews. Off the limiter he is now as McGowan heads into turn one. We'll see where Mike Matthews comes out. We'll go to the helicam, see if that gives us a better shot. There is Mike Matthews. Has he got the jump on Ian McGowan? He might just have, you know. Oh, big contact! McGowan turns in on Mike and Mike Matthews is around. No, he's not. He's got it back going. McGowan carries on his way. Dan Davis back into the pits again. So not sure what's happened there. And Mike will be disgruntled with that one from Ian McGowan. Cardno has lost out to Harris in this race at the moment. Miger still staying out ahead of Matt Wright at the moment. One of his championship rivals. Goudet's into the pit, as is Brandon Williams, but Mike Matthews there will not be happy with that from Ian McGowan. Hibbs then, P14, trying to gain on the back of Vasic at the moment. Good evening to you, Alistair Cummins, in the chat. As Damien Hibbs trying to also get his championship back on the rails. He's ahead of Tom Cardno by a couple of places here as well. So for Damien Hibbs, he's looking to try and score some good points over Thomas Cardno. Goudet into the pit lane. He needs to score really well. And the race leader, Brandon Williams, also in the pits. Here comes Ian McGowan and Mike Matthews, but they're going to be nowhere near Brandon Williams after that. A bit of contact between the pair of them at turn number one. In fact, has John Goudet, Brandon Williams, stop-go penalty, speeding in the pits. So it won't matter to Ian McGowan and Mike Matthews that they're nowhere near him because he's got a stop-go penalty. Dan Davis still in the pit lane, not sure what the reasoning is there. And John Goudet, where's he going to filter out? That is Sokolov, who he's going side by side with through turn one. Looks like Goudet's just stayed ahead for the time being, and yes, he has. John Goudet stays ahead of that of Sokolov at the moment, so he manages to keep that position there. And the number 8 Bentley will figure out where he is as everybody filters through the sector time and the timing tower updates. Damien Hibbs still on the back of Vasic with Benny Varga closing in as well. An overtake leads from Prestige, from Miger, from Matt Wright, from Richie Michel, from Piras. Piras with big damage. Them 6 have still got to pit. Dan Davis is back out of the pit. But he's now a lap down on the field. And Hibbs is actually being caught more by Benny Varga than what he's catching that of Vasic at the moment. Cardno sticking to the back of Michael Harris. Actually, that gap looks a little bit bigger than the 7/10 it says on the timing screen. Mike Matthews within a second of Ian McGowan. Sokolov still close to John Goudet, but Damien Hibbs, this is riding on board with Hibbs. Coming down into the hairpin, that is Vasic in front. That is Benny Varga behind. So that is the difference of what Hibbs has got to try and do in this race at the moment. He's got one eye on that rear view mirror and one eye looking forward just to try and keep some momentum. 2 laps remaining for the stop-go of Brandon Williams to be served, as we are 7 minutes 50 left on the clock in this race already. It's been a chaos race compared to the Pro-Ams last night. We've seen some literal corner cuts and then an incident at turn 1. Pro-Am last night was a little bit more quieter in the first race. Goudet has 6/10 to back to Sokolov, and for John here, he's outscoring Hibbs, he's outscoring Cardno. Matt Wright is yet to pit. Prestige comes into the pit lane now as McGowan's within 7/10. Fastest lap of the race for Ian McGowan, within 7/10 of that of Brandon Williams. But here we go then. We'll see where Overtaker comes out the pits, trying to go even longer than the others. So depending on when Matt Wright pits, John Goudet could be sat in a real good position. Prestige your net 3rd place car on the road. 4th place, because Piras would have passed him in the pits. So John Goudet looking to try and get that back on the podium in the Gold Championship. Looking to try and take that race win and take some good points back. Remember, points are scored for overall positions, not where you finish in your category. It's for overall positions in this one. Brandon Williams in for the stop-go. Did Mike Matthews get closer to the back of Ian McGowan? No, he did not. But has got Alexandrov, who just sets the fastest lap of the race, charging down on him. Here goes Hibbs in the background. Looked like he was looking to make a move there. Vitas gaining on the rear of that of Benny Varga. As Brandon Williams in for that stop-go, is going to tumble him right down the order here then. And out the pits there, that is Prestige, who's just come out the pits. So John Goudet is net gold leader at the moment. And Vitas wants to get a move on with this. He's not pulling away from Harris as much as he would have liked in terms of the championship, because he's only one place ahead of him, and he's not gaining on class as much as he would have liked as well in this race. Yes, there's not as many drivers on the grid, so he will still score better points than what he was if it was a bit more of a full grid with class not being here tonight. And Vasic really is the cork in the bottle at the moment. Vasic has a wiggle. Vasic is in the wall. Has a huge wiggle out the chicane. So did Damien Hibbs. Benny Varga looking up the inside through the little kink. Now trying to get on that inside line. They make contact. Hibbs is around. Vitas has to cut the corner this time, but manages to not overtake Benny Varga. And contact was made by Hibbs and Varga. Hibbs in the wall. That'll give Harris an extra place as well. And Vitas now looking to put pressure on Benny Varga here as they come in towards the hairpin. Varga just needs to keep it nice and tight. Vitas gets the up and under, a little bit of contact between the two. And Vitas manages now to get ahead. So then, Vitas moves up another place. What will Benny Varga do in terms of Michael Harris behind him, who's got Tom Cordno keeping the pressure on? Matt Wright's gaining on Miga further forward. Blue flag's being shown to whoever that is just ahead of Miga. That might be Vasic there, you know. John Goudet coming under a little pressure at the moment from that of Sokolov. But not enough pressure at the moment to make him buckle. Yeah, he won a race around Zolder last night, did John, in another league. So he did rather well last night in the Bentley, and he'll be looking to add to that today. Varga and Vitas wide into the gravel out of turn 3, coming down the straight now as Matt Wright enters the pit lane. Ian McGowan, where will he be? Still got Mike Matthews within a second and a half of him as we're entering the final 4 minutes of this race. Coming across the line now. Matt Wright has gone green. When will he come off of the limiter? Where is John Goudet? That's the crucial thing for the Gold Championship at the moment. Matt Wright is the championship leader. He's off the limiter now. Goudet's coming in towards turn 1. Sokolov, pressure in the rear of John Goudet. Keep your eyes on the top of your screen for Matt Wright. Can't see him at the moment. There he is coming out of the pit lane now and will slot in behind. Looks like Wrighty took a slower exit out the pits there, seeing these two come around. So Wrighty drops the second in gold. John Goudet is your net gold leader when Miga, Piraz come into the pit lane. But Matt Wright right there with Sokolov and with that of John Goudet at the moment. Closest fight on the circuit so far, this one. Sokolov having a look everywhere he looks. Vitas has still got Benny Varga within close company. Michael Harris and then Thomas Cordno all within close proximity. Williams and Davis still going round, but a couple of laps down at the back of the field. Piras is into the pit lane. And Sokolov really putting the pressure on Goudet now. Matt Wright's just ahead of Prestige. Would love to get onto the back of this fight. And Matt Wright well clear of Cordno and Hibbs. So he'll pull even further clear of them two. But Goudet will be the one to capitalise and catch Matt Wright just a little bit more here. And if Goudet can keep Sokolov behind him, that's an extra car. He'll be wanting Prestige to attack the back of Matt Wright a little more to just take some more championship points away. Michael Harris still trying to get past out of Benny Varga in this race at the moment. Cordno frustratingly just cannot get through. McGowan, fastest lap of the race, pulls 2 seconds now to Mike Matthews. Alexandrov still further back. Here comes Goudet and Sokolov then. Down towards turn 1. Sokolov has a look. Goudet has to get out of it. It was a late move there. The door was left wide open. Goudet flashes the lights. The door was left open. Sokolov made a good move there. It was late, but it was clean. And Goudet had to get out of that before it was an incident between the two, and that would have really ruined John's championship comeback here, if you can call it that, this late in the season. But so far, as the front three now pit, starting what should possibly be the final lap of the race. We'll see if McGowan's got the jump over Overtaker. But now Matt Wright is getting within a second of John Goudet. Michael Harris side by side with Benny Varga, bouncing over the chicane. They both make contact. Harris has a little wiggle. This is going to allow Thomas Cardno to try and get side by side with him. And is Thomas Cardno going to go through? He might do. He's got that inside line for the next chicane. Yes, he does. Cardno late on the brakes. Nearly it's Benny Varga, who's across the gravel as well. Slow out the corner. Piras, did he nearly lose it? No, he's held on to it. And Michael Harris, well, he hasn't got past Benny Varga, but he stays back ahead of Thomas Cardno. It is all happening here at Zolder in race number 1. The 60-minute race coming your way with qualifying very shortly. Overtaker exits in the pit lane. Here comes Ian McGowan. We'll go to that helicam for the lead of this race. Overtaker's off the limiter. There is Maiger and Richie Michelle still in the pits. There is Overtaker exiting the pit lane now. He's well clear of Ian McGowan. So it's Overtaker, McGowan, Mike Matthews on the podium at the moment. John Goudet still trying to put the pressure on Sokolov. Further down the field, Harris hasn't gone with Vitas at all. Vitas gaining on Prestige here, who's on the back of Richie Michelle. So Matt Wright and John Goudet gaining even more points over their Gold Championship rivals. Where did Maiger actually come out of that? Just ahead of John Goudet. So it's Maiger who is the net leader of John Goudet then. So Maiger taking points away from Mathew Wright. Huge points as well for Maiger to take away from his championship rival. The leader of Gold can do nothing about the fact that Maiger is ahead of him, but it is all about Overtaker, who's got Ian McGowan hassling the back as they approach towards the final hairpit. We've got one chicane to go after this. McGowan tries to send it in as late as he did. He's now got this chicane to go. Needs Overtaker to make a mistake, but this is Overtaker we're talking about. He very rarely makes mistakes. And he's looking for his first race win in a while. He's been on the podium for the last few weeks. Overtaker rounds and exits the final chicane. He is going to take the first race win. Great drive from him. Ian McGowan second place with the fastest lap of it as well. Mike Matthews on the podium in third. Alexandrov in fourth. Good stuff from them. Maiger wins in gold in 5th, Sokolov 6th, John Goudet 2nd in gold in 7th, Matt Wright 8th overall, 3rd in gold, Richie Michelle 9th from Prestige, Vitas, Benny Varga ahead of Harris, Cardno, Piras, and then we're just waiting for that of Hibbs at the moment. Vitas 11th, though it's not the points he wanted to pull back over class. He really wanted to capitalise here, but sadly didn't. Hibbs down in 16th, waiting for Vasic. Dan Davis has finished in 19th place. And just Brandon Williams we're waiting on now in this one. Williams across the line, and that is that. We will take a very quick break and we'll be back with race 2 in just a few moments' time. Don't go. welcome. Welcome back. SimPlay Motorsport here for qualifying in the session. Just reading a comment coming in. Perez is the best, others is, and I'm not going to read the word out. I love the fact you're cheering for certain drivers, but could we please keep the language out of the chat, please, if you don't mind. I know obviously you're allowed to type what you want to type, that's absolutely fine, but let's just try and keep it family friendly a little bit so we can read the full comments out on the stream, if you don't mind. Great that you're here to support Perez, though. Fantastic to see. Right. Championship standings. Interesting reading. Vitas has gone top of the championship standings by a point from Class. Obviously, Class not here, and his drop score will not count because the drop scores ended last week. Milliston third, Marinich fourth. Mike Matthews is up to 5th place now, ahead of Richie Michelle and Michael Harris. They are the only 7 who can win the championship. Sokolov, Alexandrov, Davis, Leger, Overtaker, Platsek, McGowan, McKenzie, Ludovic, Amishenda, Williams, Sotz and Rook cannot win it. In gold, Matt Wright has a 20-point lead over Thomas Cordno in this one, who has got Hibbs and Maiger tied for 3rd place just behind him. That is not a lot of points separating them 4. I say it's not a lot of points. In terms of one race, it's doable. But we'll see what happens in that next race. Goude's a little bit further back, still in contention, as is Benny Varga, Prestige, and Williams, Piras, Decor, Vasic, Herendich, Garilic, and Gillies can no longer win the Gold Championship. And in the teams, it's down to 5 teams now. Balkan Esports leading the way from Greasy Bandits Racing, BSH OZ Racing a 3rd ahead of SimPlay Racing, with Team SPR in 5th place. Them 5 can win it. Balkan Simup can't, neither can Richie's Corsa. 4Dave Racing, Team GBR, MMS Racing, Quantum Motorsport, MSA Racing, Sleepy Lizard, MSA, BSH Spinners, and BAL Racing. They are the only teams left to win it then. We are into the gold qualifying session at the moment. Good evening to Richard Betson in the chat at the moment, as we are on board with Maiger, who will be the first driver to set his flying lap. And just a little update, it's 35.5 degrees now in the studio, so it's got half a degree warmer since the qualifying has ended. And yeah, it should be a cracking night to see what will happen in this qualifying session, because of course, an extra point up for grab, and if the times are as close as we saw in free practice, well, then we're going to be in for a nail-biting qualifying session here then, as Maiger's coming towards that final chicane for the first time. We'll see what he will be able to set. He'll be the first man to set the benchmark here in this qualifying session, followed by Hibbs, a 1:30.0. Hibbs comes across the line, doesn't set a valid lap time. Here comes Piras to set a lap. Does he get a valid one on the board? Yes, he does. 2.1 seconds off the back. John Goude and the Bentley moves up the order into provisional pole position. Benedict Varga, what does he do? Doesn't set a lap time. Matt Wright, can he take pole position glory? No, 2/10 off the back of John Goude. Thomas Cordno has had qualifying pace in recent weeks and goes 2/10 quicker than John Goude himself there then. The 381 of Vasic will be next. There's Sam Williams in the chat. Evening, all gutted I couldn't make it tonight. You've missed a dramatic start to the race tonight, let me tell you, Sam. But hope you're enjoying yourself, whatever you are doing. Rob Smith, I need to start making pancakes more often. The ones I just made are horrific, but still tasty. Okay. Horrific but tasty in which way? That has really confused me. Maiger's on an invalid lap, so we'll go on board with Hibbs, who hasn't yet done a valid lap. So we'll see what he can sort out. As the 72 of Piras is also on an invalid lap time as well. And then you've got that of John Goude just behind. So can Damien Hibbs get closer to the pole? Yet to put a lap time on the board. Remember, if you do like what you see here, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified when we go live. We'll be back live next Wednesday as Hibbs moves up into 6th for Pro-Am's finale, and next Thursday for Pro's finale. As well as check out Design Manchester in the description below, as there goes John Goude. No lap, no improvement for him. Here comes Benedict Varga. In fact, Goude did improve, sorry. 28 thousandths of a second off of pole position. Here comes Matt Wright. Only a small improvement. What does Thomas Cordno do now, though? Oh, puts half a second between himself and John Goude. So Thomas Cordno smashes it out the water. Next man on a valid lap, the number 69 of Maiger. Yeah, Design Manchester. Check them out in the description below. Our fantastic sponsors and partners here at SimPlay Motorsport. Designers of laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing and much more, including SimPlay Motorsport merchandise. Head over to Facebook and search for Designed Manchester there. They look horrible and too stodgy, but still taste great. Well, that's all that matters, Rob. As long as you've enjoyed your pancakes, that is all that matters, my friend. As here comes Maiga now then. Towards the final chicane he goes. Remember, the Platinum drivers will come out in that final 10 minutes. So if the golds do start a lap 10 minutes from the end, at the 10-minute mark, they will be able to get another one in. So it's going to be interesting to see who can do what. Maiga goes up into second place. What can Hibbs do now? And he moves up into fourth. Just behind Hibbs is that of Piras before John Goudet. Piras to the line. Doesn't improve. Goudet to the line. Does improve within half a tenth of himself and Thomas Cardno. Here comes Benny Varga. 9/10 off of the pole position. Does he find an improvement? No, he does not. Mathew Wright moves up into third place. Here comes Tom Cardno then to the line. Crosses it. No improvement for Cardno there. The 381 of Vasic is done, and it's the 721 of Prestige next towards the line. Neil Broom saying that's some amazing fan you've got in the studio, mate. Nice to see it's working well. Can you hear the fan? I could turn the fan down if you can hear it, if that's the problem. But I am sweating like mad at the moment, so if you can hear the fan, I do apologise. But also, you're going to have to get used to it because it's too hot to turn it off at the moment. I'm sorry. As I've now just dropped something off my desk. Right then. Here comes Maiga once again to that final chicane. And we'll see if he can get another lap time on the board. Can you hear the fan in the background, Neil? Is that what you can hear? Maiga moves up into P4. The 72 of Piras coming towards the line. Piras goes top of the timing standings. John Goudet can't get any closer. What about Benny Varga? So Piras currently on provisional pole position at the moment. Benny Varga moves up the order. Matt Wright now moves up into second place. Ahead then as Thomas Cardno now goes to pole position. So qualifying getting really interesting here. Will Goudet get back out to get one more lap in? That's going to be the question. The 721 of Prestige coming to the line as Vasic goes ahead of him. 9/10 separating the top of the field. Only when I stop talking. Yeah, that's all right and not too bad. As long as it's not. Is it too bad? Bettison, Broom, anybody? Is the fan too bad? If so, I can turn it down a little bit if that's the case. Prestige stays in P9. Number 69, Maiga coming to line. John Goudet might be done in qualifying here. Benny Varga also in the pits. So I don't think they're going to be getting another lap time in, the pair of them. As Brendan Williams actually came off of his limiter. He's sat waiting at the exit of the pit lanes. That's totally fine. Here comes Maiga towards the end of his lap, the 721. That is Prestige done. Here comes Maiga towards a timing line, crosses it, improves, but doesn't improve his lap. Hibbs will get one more lap time in quite comfortably. Here comes Piras then. 1 3/4 tenths he needs to find. He manages to find almost a tenth of a second there. Closes that gap back down to Thomas Cardno. Oh, that's all right then, Beto. Matt Wright to the line. No improvement from Matt Wright. What about Thomas Cardno? Can he find any more time? No, he doesn't. So just awaiting the 381 of Vasic. Will get one more lap in as well, will Vasic. Tom Cardno's done. Can see the yellow flag for Thomas Cardno, so he is done for qualifying in this one. And Vasic does get one more lap in. So Maiga done. Yellow flag for him. Next car to finish will be Damien Hibbs. 9/10 separate the Goldfield at the moment. Temp went up in my studio, yeah, by half a degree. Down to 35 degrees on my thermometer in the studio now. In the studio. Here comes Damien Hibbs then. Coming through the final couple of corners. Hibbs is bailed to the pit lane, so Hibbs will not get that last run in. So Piras is going to try and get pole position. Matt Wright has invalidated his lap, so he's also done. Here comes Piras, takes pole position right at the end from Thomas Cardno. Vasic, last man on a lap for gold as the Platinum drivers are out on the circuit. Matt Wright will not mind that one bit. Here comes Vasic then. Out of the final corner, down towards the timing line. Vasic goes, improves P6, but Piras will be the man on pole position. And who's the first man on the circuit in qualifying? I believe it is that of the 55 of Brendan Williams. Yes, it is. Oh, Rob, I'd trade you any day at the minute, Rob. Doesn't help in the studio, though, the two monitors, the PC, the PlayStation, everything being on, door shut so that the kids can't disturb me in the studio. It doesn't help things at all. I've even had to take the shirt off while I'm not being shown on screen. The shirt will go on when I'm back on, when you can see me on the camera at the end of the programme when we're doing the interviews, but the shirt's currently had to come off for the time being. As lap times now being started by the Platinum drivers then here in qualifying. Neil Broom in the chat as well. I can't even hear your fan. I was taking the mickey as you said you had a useless fan earlier on. And then just said the studio was actually hotter. Yeah, I can feel the warm air being blown on my back at the moment. Rob Smith, now you're a pro, surely you need AC. When the gigs start coming in more often, Rob, the AC will be fitted. Don't you worry about that one. John saying, boo, keep it off. Give the fans what they want to see. If only, John. We'd lose subscribers if they saw this, trust me. As here comes Brandon Williams then to finish his first flying lap. Richie Michelle will be next to cross the line. Brandon Williams only goes P8 at the moment. Here comes Richie Michelle to the line. Only goes P8 now himself. Dan Davis chucks himself into P9. What about Mike Matthews? First lap's obviously indicating that still need to get tyres into the right window. Nothing there for Mike Matthews. Alexandrov. What can the lap time be from Alexandrov? It isn't a lap time. Nothing put on the board from him. Ian McGowan towards the line. Doesn't put a lap time in. Vitas doesn't put a lap time in. Sokolov comes towards the line now. Doesn't put a lap time in. A bit of a rolling theme here. Car number 77, that of Overtake, is about to finish his first lap. And goes up into P5. So a pretty good lap that from Overtaker at the very start. We've got Michael Harris left on his first opening lap of the qualifying session. And he goes up into P8, second place in the Platinum category. Back to Brandon Williams we go. Remember, back to free practice. I'll show you all, actually, the free practice times. Look at how close they was at the top of the timing screen. 5 drivers separated by half a tenth. So incredible to see there from them 5 drivers. So will we get a repeat of that in this session? Who knows? That'll be fantastic if we did, because that'd be pretty awesome to see. I'm just grabbing a quick screenshot of the race 1 results for my stats pages, so just please bear with me 2 minutes. As here comes Brandon Williams, over the line he goes, moves up into P4. Richie Michelle towards the line, moves up into P7. Dan Davis towards the line. Does he improve? No, stays down in P12. Mike Matthews on an invalid lap, so that shouldn't be an improvement for him. No, it's not. The 73 of Alexandrov hasn't yet done a flying lap, so we'll see if this time counts for him. No, it doesn't. Ian McGowan, does he get a lap time on the board? Yes, he does, up into P5. Vitas up onto provisional pole. At the moment, what about Sokolov in this one so far? He moves up into P10. Car 77 next, out of Overtaker. 3/10 off the pole, down in 8. Look at the pole times, a 1 second separating the field as Overtaker moves up into P4. Michael Harris next. Rob Smith, so easy to invalidate laps here. You need a bank at the start of quali. I couldn't agree more. As Harris comes to the line, doesn't improve. Warner's Clace says, what is going to happen to Vitas Cut Race 1? That's down to Thomas Cardno if he wants to report that incident. It was a big cut, so he'd have been given the warning on the game, but he also did overtake whilst off the circuit, so he can report it for that. But that's down to Thomas Cardno whether or not he wants to report the... it's up to Tom Cardno if he wants to report the incident. As Rob Smith saying, class, the person that lost out needs to report it. Yeah, indeed they do. As here comes Brandon Williams again. Richie Michelle on an invalidated lap, as is Dan Davis. So we'll turn our attention to Mike Matthews next. Brendan Williams to the line, 2/10 off the pole, stays where he is. Mike Matthews next on a valid lap. Alexandrov will be behind him on a valid lap. Yet to put a lap time in with only 3 and a bit minutes on the clock. Mike Matthews moves up to 4th. Here comes Alexandrov then. What lap time can he put on the board? Goes up into P3, so a good lap from Alexandrov. McGowan moves up into 6th place. Vitas doesn't extend his pole position time. Where is the 101 of Sokolov then? Further down the order and moves up into P10. So we've got 1.1 seconds separate the entire field at the moment. That is incredibly close from everybody out there so far. As here comes Michael Harris. Crosses the line and moves up to P8. We turn our attention once again back to Brandon Williams for the time being. Out the final corner, a little squirrely there for Williams on the exit. Can he come to the line now and get anything done in this qualifying session? Nope, stays where he is. Richie Michelle moves up into 2nd place. Good lap from Richie Michelle there. What about Dan Davis? Moves up into P3, so a good lap from Dan Davis there. Mike Matthews stays P7 for the time being. Alexandrov, exactly the same time as the gold pole sitter of Piras, moves up into 2nd place. Ian McGowan moves up into P5. Can Vitas extend his gap out front? Top 3 separated by less than a 10th. No, he cannot. Sokolov down in 13th. Does he move up the order? No, he doesn't. Half a second separate the top 15 here. It is incredibly tight. The smallest of margins will move you up the category. Wolski in the chat, good afternoon to you. It looks like we were quite fast on quali with Mirko yesterday, 1:28.6 and 1:28.7. Indeed. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets promoted next season, obviously, with Wolski being the Pro-Am champion. Michael Harris stays where he is at the moment. Drivers may get 2 laps in here, but all of them may get 2 extra laps in here. So we'll see what they can do. But look at the amount of cars between Cardno and between Matt Wright. That is huge in this qualifying session to have 3 cars between them. But it's an hour-long race. Anything and everything can and will happen in that hour-long race. Here comes Brandon Williams into the final corner. Comes towards the timing line now. Will it be a quicker time for Brandon Williams as he comes to the line? It is. He goes P1 by 8 thousandths of a second from Vitas. Richie Michelle can't improve. What about Dan Davis? Does he have anything left in the locker? No, he doesn't. Mike Matthews, 2.5 tenths off the pole, moves up into P6. Alexandrov, just under a 10th off of Brandon Williams. Does he have anything left to do? No, he doesn't, but gets 1 more lap on the board. Ian McGowan moves up to 2nd by 1,000th of a second. Here comes Vitas to the line. No improvement for the McLaren driver. Sokolov, 0.3 of a second. Can't find anything there. Overtaker down in 10th. 0.3 off the pole. Can he find any more time? Not yet, but gets 1 more chance. 1 more roll of the dice for Overtaker. As Michael Harris now moves up to 4th. 6 drivers within a 10th of a second. Harris is done. The 933 of Richie Michelle will be next to the line. What a close qualifying this is. Alexandrov done. Harris done. Williams done. Not sure if anybody else is, but Richie Michelle bails to the pit lane. So he was not up on his time. Dan Davis then. Does he have just a measly 10th and a bit to get to the line and take pole position potentially in this qualifying session? Comes to the line now, does Dan Davis, and stays where he is, can't improve. Vitas needs 0.08 of a second. Can he do it at the very end? Hold on to your hats, folks. Here comes Vitas towards the line. Is this about to be pole and take another point away from class? No, it is not. 0.08 of a second off of pole position. Top three less than 100th. That is crazy. Overtaken. He's just less than 3/10. Really pushing the limits out the final corner. Comes down towards the timing beam now. An overtaker improves and goes out of Matt Wright into P11. But it is Brandon Williams who takes pole position here. What a qualifying that was. Stream is out of sync. Thank you, Bradley. That should be sorted now, where the stream is in sync. Just had a massive buffer and now the comms and streams were out of sync. Anyone else having the same issue? Just me. Yeah, no, sorted that one. I've sorted that, so that should be good to go now. Right. What a qualifying session that was. Brandon Williams on pole from Ian McGowan. Vitas from Michael Harris. Alexandrov from Richie Michelle. Davis from Matthews. Pirash, your goal pole sitter, from Thomas Cardno. Overtaker from Matt Wright. Sokolov from Goudet. Maiga from Vasic. Varga from Hibbs. Prestige at the back on his own in this qualifying session. My oh my, that was an entertaining one indeed. That was really, really close in qualifying there. Like, that couldn't have been any closer between the entire field. Should be back on the time in sync now. Everything all looks good on my end, so hopefully now it will be back up to sync as Brandon Williams leads the pack away once again. Phil Atherton, good to see you, Phil, in the chat. Mike Matthews for the win. Is what he's saying in there. Well, great to see you in there, Phil. Hope you're doing well. Come on, Mr. Harris, says Richard Betterson in the chat. Sure, Harris would love to win this race again. He won the 90 minutes at Suzuka last week. I'm sure he'd love to win this one. Going to be a big ask, though. Really is going to be a big ask, this. McGowan for the win, says Gary Clarbel. Interesting to see. Brandon Williams on pole then. From that of Ian McGowan. Vitas, your new championship leader in the Platinum Series. third on the grid. Right then, towards the final chicane, they come in the formation lap. Down to the start-finish line for the final time in the formation lap here to start the final lap of the day, the penultimate race of the pro season. The 90 minutes of Donington Park is next week, but it's green and go here. Ian McGowan gets a lovely little launch there. Michael Harris covering off Richie Michel. Alexandrov goes way deep into turn one, into the gravel he goes, and has to slowly rejoin here, but Brandon Williams was under pressure from Ian McGowan. A huge dive bomb from Alexandrov there that went horribly wrong for him. Misses turn one. Here comes Williams, though. McGowan under pressure from Vitas. Harris from then that of, I believe, Richie Michel further down the field as we wait for them to come through sector one here at the start of this race. A great start, though, from everybody out front at the moment. It's been bar Alexandrov's dive bomb. It's been a pretty good start all round as Williams leads from McGowan, Vitas, Harris, Michel. That's Mike Matthews. Mike Matthews is off in the wall. Big damage. Dan Davis was off as well. Matt Wright looks like he's got damage on the rear there as he's just gone past Dan Davis. Just waiting to see the rear of Matt Wright's car as he comes through. Yes, he has some rear end damage on Matt Wright's car there. Not sure what's happened at the start for Matt Wright. And Ian McGowan leads this race from Brandon Williams. So Ian McGowan is into the lead, but Mike Matthews, huge damage at the start. And that's going to put him right to the back, but he could get his pit stop out the way now, and he could be done and dusted to go for the rest of the race. So we'll see what happens for Mike Matthews here. He surely got to pit with that amount of damage. So it's McGowan from Williams, from Vitas from Harris, Richie Michel from Tom Cardno running up in sixth. Your gold leader at the moment. Overtaker from Piras. Matt Wright's third in gold from Davis, from Maiga, Alexandrov, Sokolov, Vasic, Goudet, Hibbs, Prestige, Varga, Mike Matthews, who is into the pit lane. No surprise there for him. Closest fight on the circuit at the moment is Maiga on the back of Dan. Does Dan have any damage? So Dan was on the grass, not seeing anything from Davis there. So looks to be all okay for Dan Davis at this moment in time. Matt Wright definitely got some rear end damage on that Porsche, who's had a bit of a tap up the rear. Has had his overtaker looking for a move on Thomas Cardno into the first chicane. Overtaker gets over the chicane well within track limits there. He had the wheels on the curb. There's no problem with that one. Cardno was very slow out of it, and now Piras is looking to the inside line of Thomas Cardno. This is for the lead in gold. Piras has the inside line for the first part of the chicane. Goes through, bounces on the chicane, and Piras took too much speed in, and he's off. Into the wall goes Piras. Damage on the front, not too bad, but drops to the back of the pack, and that's put Tom Cardno with his championship rival Matt Wright, who's coming under pressure from Dan. And Maiga! Maiga taps Dan, who taps Matt. Dan's off again. And Maiga, day late and $1 short on the brakes. Benny Varga, sorry, that's Alexandrov getting overtaken by Prestige. Mike Matthews has done his pit stop. Didn't repair the damage, though. Or did he just... Okay, right. Surprised he's not repaired that damage, as he's off again. Very surprised Mike didn't repair the damage there. Either that's going to be horrible to drive, or he's going to have to get used to it. Unless he pits one more time. John Goudet looking up the tighter line of Vasic on the inside. Alexandrov behind was looking up the inside of Prestige as well. Gets that move done. Does Alexandrov. Here comes Dan Davis trying to follow Alexandrov through on Prestige. Through turn two they go. In towards number 3 now. Davis moves up another position here. It's been handbags from the pro drivers tonight in this one. Saw a calm and tame Pro-Am race last night, and it's handbags here in the Pro Series tonight. As bouncing through the first chicane goes Dan Davis. We'll see what Mike Matthews' pace looks like as Williams keeping the pressure on Ian McGowan. Harris putting the pressure on Vitas, who's flashing his lights at Brandon Williams here. Not sure why. Richie Michel dropping off the back of the front four drivers. Sokolov trying to gain on Maiga, who's lost a bit of time to Matt Wright. So nobody else yet into the pit. Dan Davies trying to get onto the back of Alexandrov once again. Benny Vargas coming under pressure from that of Piras. Piras looking to make a move into the final chicane. Can't get the move done. Benny Vargas covers that one off nicely at the moment. Little snap for Benny Vargas on the exit of the chicane though, and that's going to allow Piras the run through. And Piras comes back at Benny Vargas and through he goes now. Mike's last lap of 2:25. That would have been his outlap, so we can't judge Mike's pace at the moment. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. As Goudet still getting close to the back of Vasic at the moment. Further forward, though, it is that of McGowan, Williams, Vitas, Harris, Richie Michel. All within a second of each other. Bit of a gap back to overtaker. Then Thomas Cardno, leader in gold. Goudet still close to that of Vasic at the moment. Dan Davis gaining on the back of Alexandrov as well. Dan getting very close to the rear of Alexandrov in towards the first chicane. Back to the front then. Brandon Williams just starting to defend from Vitas a little bit here. This is riding on board with Vitas. Down into turn one, they all go again. Sokolov trying to get on Maiga. Is this John Goudet having a look at Vasic? I think he might already be past Vasic, you know. He was at the timing screen. Vasic having a look up the inside of Goudet to come back at him, but John gets that move done. Bit of a wiggle on the curb. What's happening behind? Alexandrov, Davis and Hibbs, three wide. Alexandrov trying to tuck up the inside of Hibbs. He just tapped the rear of Hibbs, pushes Hibbs a little bit wide. Dan's trying to come through the middle of the pair of them. Tried to follow Alexandrov through, couldn't do so there. Dan's had to tuck back in behind Damien Hibbs. Hibbs will be unhappy with that from Alexandrov. And Alexandrov makes his way up another position. A little aggressive from Alexandrov tonight. Piras on the rear of this queue, as is Prestige. What is Mike Matthews' pace looking like to the cars in front of him? Not overly bad, a 32.0 from Mike. Benny Varga did a 31.2, so 8 tenths slower. That damage will be hurting him a little bit. Richie Michel, fastest lap of the race at the moment as well. Vasic sticking to the back of John Goudet for the time being. John will know what he's got to do around here. He's had misfortunes at this, unlucky fortunes at this circuit over the years at SimPlay as John Goudet. Davis still behind Hibbs for now. Don't forget, Mike's still got everybody to pit. Prestige is in, so Prestige has pulled the trigger on the pit stop. So we'll see where that brings him out compared to Mike. Leaders, though, McGowan pulling away from Williams with Vitas, then Michael Harris, then Richie Michel. Overtakers not making any inroads at the moment. Sokolov losing, trying to slowly gain on Maiga. And then it's Vasic, who's just started to lose out to John Goudet a little bit. Davis trying to get past Hibbs, but he's also got Piras crawling all over the back of him here. And just cannot find a way through at the moment, can Piras. So let's see then as Dan Davis chops to the inside line of Hibbs, gets alongside Piras! Straight into the back of Damien Hibbs! What is he doing there? He's missed his brakes a mile. The road is blocked off between Dan and Damien. And he's just pile-drived into the back of the Honda there. Benny Varga's going to get past him as well for his troubles. I'm honestly flabbergasted at what we're seeing from some of these pro drivers tonight. I really am astonished at some of the driving standards here. Stream does keep buffering. You're right, Rob. Just keep letting me know when it is happening. And I will try to keep on top of that as best I can on my end. I'm not sure why it is buffering, but I will try and keep on top of that best as I can my end, as it's doing it again. So just keep me up to date on that, Rob, and I will try and keep it as best I can up to date with the sound. Piras trying to come back here on Gowney at the moment. Crazy, though, that, as Vitas is on the back of Harris. In fact, Harris has got ahead of Vitas. So Vitas and Harris have dropped 2 seconds to the leaders. And all of a sudden, Harris now might try and just stretch his legs a little bit over Vitas, taking points away from that championship leader. Mike's within 4 seconds of Prestige. So now we get to see how close Mike can be to the back of that Ford Mustang. I believe Mike's actually just allowed the leaders through. Yeah, I feel bad as well for Hibbs there, Matthias. That was a crazy shunt from behind from Piras. I've just lowered the quality to hopefully stop the buffering of the stream. That hasn't helped there. I think I might know why. 2 seconds. Hopefully that should be sorted now. The PlayStation, it's that hot in here. The PlayStation's getting a little bit warm, so I've just moved the position of the fan to try and get the PlayStation and myself, so hopefully that will be a little bit better. Neil Broom, what's with all the buffering tonight? It's awful. I think it's because the PlayStation's getting a little bit hot, Neil, so apologies for that. Wolski in the chat, some very naughty racing out there. We are pure gentlemen back in Pro-Am. Indeed you are, because it's just been really poor tonight. If it carries on buffering, I'll stop the stream in terms of on the PlayStation. We'll go to a quick break screen. I'll try and get it reset and sorted that way. But it has just been really poor from some of these drivers out there tonight. Alexandrov gaining on the back of Vasic. No, he's not, because Vasic is off at turn number 2. So how's he ended up there then? Piras on the back of Benny Varga once again. Prestige has dropped Mike by 10 seconds, but that could be because Mike is allowing traffic through. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. Goudet trying to gain on Maiga. That's for the podium in the Gold Championship. Matt Wright got within 6/10 of Thomas Cardno. Vitas still on the back of Michael Harris at the moment. Yeah, it's like I said, it's gone up to 36 degrees now in the studio, so it is very warm. I've moved the position of the fan, so hopefully, with it blowing on me and the PlayStation a little bit more, that should cool it down a little bit and hopefully get it done. I may just have to open the bedroom door, and if you hear the kids, I do apologise tonight, but it is very, very warm in the studio. So Vitas on the back of Harris. It seems to have calmed the buffering down for the time being, so we will keep our eyes on it, but do apologise about the technical issues that we have been having here tonight on this one. Right, so Ian McGowan leads. Maiga's into the pits. That will release John Goudet and everybody else behind him. Piras still on the back of Benny Varga. Side by side, there you go. Benny's coming into the pits. So Benny has decided to pits. Piras spins it around, went in too deep at the final chicane. I don't know if the person who made the comment earlier wants to change his mind, but Piras is having an absolute shocker out there tonight at the moment. Cardno's gaining on the back of Overtaker. And he's kind of taking Matt with him. This is why Xbox is the superior console. All right. Who put 50p in you? Right, I'm just going to go to the break screen. I'll keep the commentary on. I am just going to restart. In fact, you know what? We'll go to the commentator screen. I will keep you up to date with the commentary. While I fix the buffering, but you'll have to just do with it for now. So just bear with me. Mad rush. Right, so at the moment, it is Ian McGowan leading this race from Brandon Williams. I'm just going to stop the stream on the PlayStation, restart it to hopefully get that one up and going once again. So you've got to deal with this mug for a couple of moments' time. But it's Ian McGowan who's leading the way from Brandon Williams at the moment. Michael Harris is P3 from that of Vitas. Richie Michelle running in 5th place from Overtaker. As Overtaker's actually, is that Overtaker looking to make a move? That's on Benny Varga, who's been in the pit lane. Then Mike is back into the pits. And Piras has retired from the race, I can tell you. So Mike's clearly gone to get the damage done. Overtaker slides through that of turn 3. This is going to allow Thomas Cardno onto the back of him. Overtaker almost pushes Benny Varga into the wall, who rejoins and nearly hits that of Thomas Cardno. So Benny Varga there, and Overtaker and Tom all having a few exchanges as Benny Varga is a lap down out of the pit lane. And what crazy scenes here we are seeing at that of Zolder at the moment, or what I'm seeing. Obviously, you're not right now because we're just waiting to try and get this stream back up and going. Mike says he gambled. Did it work, Mike? I'm taking it obviously not because you are back into the pit lane. But Ian McGowan started to stretch his legs here. It's over a second now, is that gap. So at the minute, McGowan is the one who looks pretty comfortable out there on the circuit at this moment in time. Hopefully now this buffering has been done, because you're still putting up with me for the time being while I'm trying to do this. I'm just going to keep an eye on it for a second. John Goudet is into the pits. It's immediately started buffering once again. Now I'm buffering, apparently. Amazing. Right. Let's get you back to live pictures, shall we? So this might not be a me issue. This might be a YouTube issue at the moment. So this might be a YouTube issue here in this one. Dan Davis has got past Sokolov. Goudet's in the pits. Where's Maiga? Maiga's coming through. Mike is now 2 laps down. This is becoming unstreamable here. I do apologise for this, but if I was straight buffering on my end, we might just have to do a radio commentary with my with me on the camera here. Right, let's see how that one holds up. We've got the door open now, so we've opened the door. Let's see how that holds up now that there's a bit more cool air in Micah. Bouncing all over the sausage curd, the first chicane. John Goudet couldn't capitalise. He's going to get a little closer. Sokolov into the pits. We've lost that of Piras, as I said earlier on. So that will be a qualifying ban for the pole sitter. So the comment earlier, Piras is the best, everyone else is bleep. I think that audience member needs to rethink his suggestions there. But here we go. Back in the stream. Thank you for the 2 new subscribers. We are now officially over 1,350, so thank you all very, very much in this one at the moment. Neil Broom, no idea why he didn't repair the damage when he pitted. That McLaren can't be handling the right way right the way it is. You was probably right, Neil. There was that cheeky comment in the chat from Caitlin about PS5 Xbox as being the superior console. That's just a lie. Go set the fastest lap, says Class 2 Mike Matthews. Well, let's see what Mike can do now as John Goudet crawling all over the back of Maiga's Mercedes-Benz. This is running on board with John Goudet. Goudet a little wide through turn 3 there. That's given Maiga a bit of a break here. Harris has got fastest lap. He's pulled away from Vitas. Richie Michel down the order. Overtaker. He's got Cardno gaining on him. Matt Wright can't seem to make the inroads on Cardno, but he doesn't need to. He just needs to follow Thomas home as it's still buffering out there. I'm reckoning we've got a YouTube issue over something else, because if Rob Smith was saying that even I was buffering, then I think YouTube's having an issue. It was having a moment last night as well before I even started the stream. Wouldn't even let me schedule it. We'll keep our eyes on that Agude then. Prestige gaining on the back of Benny Varga. Might just have to do a radio commentary, you know, if this keeps buffering. Because I've constantly got to change the live screen just to make sure we are up to date and live in this commentary. Right. Prestige on the back of Benny. And it starts to buffer once again. PlayStation's cooling down, so it definitely can't be the PlayStation. It has to be some form of YouTube error this evening. Well, I do apologise for the technical issues you're experiencing out there if you're watching the stream. I can only offer my apologies. And that we are trying to get this one going once again and getting it back up to where it needs to be. But so far, YouTube is not playing ball out there at the moment. Mike saying fastest lap. I'm not giving anything away, Mike. I'll tell a lie. Let's have a look at the fastest lap then, shall we? The fastest lap of the race has been done by Michael Harris. Is a 1 minute 28.7 at the minute. So if you want the fastest lap, that's what you've got to do. And that's what you've got to beat as the stream is buffering once again. We try and get that back to the live pictures as just behind Benny Varga, Prestige has just been lapped by that of Overtaker and by Thomas Cardno. Although Overtaker, it's saying, is now behind Matt Wright and Thomas Cardno. Yes, indeed he is. So what has happened to Overtaker there? Because he's lost out 2 positions then in this one at the minute is Overtaker. And he's down in 8th position. That's put Cardno and Matt Wright up into 6th and 7th. As Richie Michel is gaining on Vitas here then for another place. Harris can't quite catch up to the back of Brandon Williams, who puts a lap on Sokolov. Gets a little bit close there, does Sokolov, under the braking. Can't do anything about it. Goudet's back within a second of Maiga. Further forward, Alexandrov trying to get onto the rear of Overtaker now himself. So as they come down over the start-finish line, 15 laps completed for the leaders of this race. And 37 minutes still on the clock here. It's gone up to 36.5 degrees in the studio. Damn, I need some air conditioning. I think you was right, you know. So let's see what's going to happen. Overtaker flashing his lights to Benny Varga, weaving all over the place. Philip Atherton, try a speed test, just see if it's your Wi-Fi overheating in this weather. Definitely not the Wi-Fi, dude, because I've got that in a nice cool position. And I'm not on the Wi-Fi, I'm wired, so don't worry about that one. It's definitely not the internet, because everybody else is okay. It definitely seems to have sorted itself out. That's what making it think it was a YouTube issue, because it was making me die. It wasn't the PlayStation overheating. I wonder if YouTube was just having a moment. And they seem to have sorted that one out at the moment. And Ian McGowan leads from Brandon Williams. Into the pits comes Brandon Williams now. So Harris will take over second. Vitas stays out. Michel stays out. Cordno, Matt Wright, overtaker with Amigenda, right, Alexandrov, sorry, right behind him. Goudet's on the rear of Maiger at the moment. Goudet's looking to the inside line of Maiger, who goes a little bit wide, leaves a Bentley-sized hole on that inside line, but John can't find the momentum to get through there. Goudet's still got to try again. He's got two wheels on the grass now as John Goudet on the outside line. Can't find a way past the Mercedes-Benz. Goudet now into the gravel a little bit with two wheels. The big Bentley has got to try and do something spectacular in this race to get ahead of Maiger. And these two are fighting for championship as well. They're both behind Cordno and that of Mathew Wright. Hibbs, though, is going to pull away from them. But these two have pitted. Overtaker in the pits, Brandon Williams into the pits. And there's, in fact, hang on a moment, was Maiger having a bit of a mistake? Not quite there. Goudet stays ahead for now. Brandon Williams has completed his pit stop, so he'll be well out on his way. These two might jump Overtaker here, you know. Coming into the final chicane, Overtaker's just gone green and is away now as these two are exiting the final chicane. Maybe not, although he's not off his limiter yet. Gets off the limiter now. This might be tight between Overtaker and this front two. These two of Maiger and John Goudet here. Let's go to the helicam to find out. Where is Overtaker exiting the pit lane? He already has, just in front of them. There he is. So Overtaker does stay ahead then of Maiger and John Goudet. Vitas on the back of Harris once again. 9/10 of a second is that gap. But it's this, the closest fight on circuit. Goudet and Maiger. Looks like the technical issues have put themselves to bed here. Maiger and John side by side over the first chicane. Maiger just bounces on it, loses that traction, and Goudet gets up the inside, makes the move on Maiger. The Bentley moves up to third place, or a net lead, should I say, over the Bentley in this race at the moment. So John Goudet gets himself through. And now can Maiger fight back over John. John's had good pace here today. Has had really good pace. Needs to put it together. Vitas within half a second of Michael Harris now. Matt Wright's lost to 2 seconds behind Thomas Cordno. So can't do anything about it. Mike Matthews gaining on the back of Overtaker here. That's interesting to see, with Mike being 2 laps down at the moment. What lap is Mike on? So Mike has just started, I believe, lap 16, sorry. So he's on the same lap as Prestige and Benny Varga. He's technically on the same lap as Sokolov, Maiger, Goudet and Overtaker. And Brandon Williams. He's possibly, on the same lap as the leader of McGowan here. No, I don't think he is, actually. He's 2 laps down. So he's 1 lap down to McGowan. Almost 2. But there's still positions for Mike to make up in this race. Overtaker the night for Goudet there. Indeed it was. It was an absolutely cracking move. Vasic gaining on Hibbs. Goudet's just started to pull clear of Maiger. Harris and Vitas have both pitted at the same time. So Hibbs now coming under pressure from Vasic. This is on board with Vasic in his Lexus, looking on at Damien Hibbs here then. Down into the first chicane. Bouncing over the curbs. The front engine car deals with that a lot better than Hibbs' Honda. You can see how much Vasic has gained over Damien Hibbs. In towards the little right-hand kink. Down into the second chicane. Vasic breaks early. Saves it for another time here. There's a horrible run through the middle chicane there that does Vasic. Race leader into the pits. Did Michael Harris jump Brandon Williams? No, he did not. And has come out with Vitas crawling all over the back of him now. So we'll see where these two come out. Tom Cordno into the pits as well. So Matt Wright takes the net lead in gold for the time being. So I'm just receiving 2 more beverages, a Dr. Pepper and a glass of water. Crucially needed tonight. As Michael Harris, after his pit stop, has got Vitas crawling all over the back of him here in this race. Harris then just starting to pull away from Vasic just a little bit. That gap's opened up to 0.4 of a second, but it looks a little more now for the Lexus driver. Ian McGowan has done his stop. Brandon Williams coming down the start-finish straight. McGowan's now just off the limiter. We're going to go to the helicam here. Let's see if we can see McGowan exiting the pit lane as to where Brandon Williams will be. Has McGowan got out well ahead? Yes, he has. So Ian McGowan, there you see him, well clear of Brandon Williams in this race at the moment. They're lapping at the minute, Daniel. Last laps was around the 1 minute 30s, 1 minute 29s here so far in this race at the moment. As the closest fight, Harris and Vitas rages on once again. They did get ahead of Hibbs and Vasic. Where's Tom Cardno? Did he stay ahead of Miger and Goudet? Yes, he did. And Goudet's now put a lap on Mike Matthews as well. Closest fight, though, 0.4 of a second. Michael Harris in the Lexus. Vitas in the McLaren. Coming through the middle chicane. Towards the hairpin corner they now approach. Richie Michel takes control of the lead of this race for now, but the top 4 still have to pit in this race. Matt Wright, your net gold leader at the moment, but he also has to pit. Vitas has been ebbing and flowing with Michael Harris all day. He was falling into the clutches of Richie Michel earlier on and has now got right back onto the rear of Michael Harris's Lexus. Harris will love to outscore Vitas and possibly put a car or 2 between them. There's Williams and McGowan further up the road, so they can see the net race lead when everybody does their pit stops. Where is Richie Michel? Coming to the hairpins. We'll see if Richie decides to dive into the pit lane now then. Yellow flag. That is the 566. That's Benny Varga, who's gone around at the middle chicane, so he's lost out to Prestige in this one. Richie Michel in. What about Matt Wright? Matt Wright into the pit. So 28 minutes, 34 seconds on the clock. Alexandrov into the pit. Dan Davis stays out. So Dan Davis will take the net lead of this race. So Benny Varga back into the pits. That might help Mike Matthews get an extra couple of places in this one. But so far, so good. Dan Davis will be your net race leader at the moment. Vitas all over the back of Michael Harris. This is looking on board. That's of the McLaren here then. You can see the big Lexus. You can see how narrow this circuit is at Zolder. Here, Brandon Williams, it looks like, is on the rear of Ian McGowan coming into the braking zone of the hairpin corner. Through they go. Towards the final chicane they now approach. Harris would love a couple of cars between himself and Vitas in this race for the championship. So I was just saying good night to my son there. He's off to bed. Throttle stuck to 30%. I'm out, says Benny Varga. What a shame. What a shame for Benny Varga in this one. I feel like the buffering hasn't, probably going to jinx it now, but I feel like the buffering hasn't been as bad since. Just a bit of stuttering every now and again. But Vitas here really putting the pressure on that then of Michael Harris still. Overtakers on the rear of Matt Wright. No, he's not, because Matt Wright's off. What a huge John Goudet goes through. Where's Miger? Miger's going to go through as well. So what happened there? Overtaker was on the rear of Matt Wright. As Wright, he just lost it on his own. I don't see any damage or marks on Overtaker's car to say there's been contact. So has Matt Wright just lost it on his own? but huge for the championship for Cardno and for Goudet and for Maiger. Right, they're only a second behind Maiger. Goudet needs to stay ahead of Alexandrov to just keep cars between himself and Matt Wright. Dan Davis stays out on circuit. Brandon Williams trying to gain onto the back of Ian McGowan here as best he can. Vitas has just dropped off the back of Harris a little bit. Looks like he's actually closed that down from the 6/10 that the gap is saying that it was. Matt Wright back within a second of Maiger now. So Matt Wright showing that he's got a bit of pace. Maiger just hasn't had the pace here over the likes of Goudet. Goudet's dropped Maiger then. Sokolov gaining on Matt Wright. Oh, Maiger bouncing all over the place through the chicane. Sokolov on the rear of Matt Wright now. There's Sokolov approaching to the rear of Matt Wright. Trying to get onto the rear of Maiger. He'd love to be on the rear of Maiger for sure here. Vitas still within that second of Michael Harris into the final 25 minutes then of this race. Dan Davis still yet to pit at the moment. So going really long while he's got the clear air. He's trying to get that jump over Ian McGowan or over a few of the cars to make up a few places in this one, I feel. As Benny Varga there, look, out the server, out the race, throttle stuck on for Benny Varga. So what can Dan do by trying to go long in this race? That's going to be the question. Goudet has got Alexandrov catching on the back of him. Maiger 2.1 to Matt Wright now. Vasic within 7/10 of Hibbs again. Sokolov within 7/10 of Maiger. Alexandrov within 8/10 of Goudet. Vitas within 8/10 of Harris. And Williams within 9/10 of Ian McGowan at the moment. So interesting to keep our eyes on these battles that are developing. Dan Davis still yet to pit. 22 minutes left in this race as well. So an absolutely crazy race that we're witnessing here. And again, I said it earlier on. I'm going to have to say it again. The Pro-Ams was a lot more behaved than the pros tonight. Alexandrov gaining on Goudet. Goudet's only 1.8 off the back of Overtaker, who's just kicking up the gravel a little bit there. And Goudet will want to keep Alexandrov at bay because he knows that if he can put more cars between himself and that of Matt Wright, he's going to take more points off him in this championship going into Donington Park. Huge for Cardno, who just fell to 20 points behind as well. He's going to gain massively in this one. Oh, the buffering's back once again. So then, Vasic gaining a little bit more on Hibbs. Brandon Williams within half a second of McGowan now. So Brandon Williams just starting to get a little bit closer. Harris has pulled away from Vitas. That gap is now a second. I reckon that's where Dan's going to try and come into, you know. I reckon Dan's going to try and get in these gaps, but he needs them to start fighting a little bit harder at the moment. The less these are fighting, the less chance Dan has got of picking up some time over them. Matt Wright on the rear of Maiger, so not sure what's happened to Maiger. Sokolov has dropped 3 seconds behind Matt Wright. But Matt Wright now on the back of Maiger, who's just tripped to wheel into the gravel a little bit out of the turn 3 corner. Matt Wright to the outside line. Maiger's defending the inside. Maiger's not had the chicane brilliant today. He gets too bouncy over the chicane. He does again there. And look at the momentum. Matt gets out of the first chicane compared to that of Maiger. He's all over the rear of him as they come down and around to the second chicane. Can't make the move. Stays behind. Stays where he is for now. But Matt Wright putting the pressure on to close the gap to Cordno, to close the gap to John, to outscore Maiger. Maiger defends the inside line. Matt Wright comes into the braking zone. Doesn't think of making the move there. Looking to try and get it done on the exit. Down towards that of the final chicane. All over the rear. Pulls to the outside line now. Here goes Matt Wright. Having a look on the outside. They are absolutely neck and neck. Swings it round the outside. Can't keep it there for the inside line in the next part of the chicane. Possibly cost himself a little bit there, did Matt Wright. Should have possibly looked for the up and under to get the run out the corner, but didn't do so. And has now got all the hard work to do again. Mike Matthews back into the pit lane. Apologise for the buffering once again. As Righty still having a look here on the back of Maiger. Not as aggressive over the second curb Maiger was there. So he was a little calmer and a little able to, a bit better to get the run out the first chicane. But Matt Wright still sticking with him. Mike's gone to take tyres. Low fuel, take tyres, fastest lap of the race. Mike's just trying to get every extra point he can, it seems, in this race from what he's saying there in the virtual grandstand. As Mike Wright looking all over the back. This is the closest fight on the circuit. Vasic on the back of Hibbs, actually, becoming a close one as well. Again, apologies for the buffering interruptions on the screen. We've been dealing with these technical issues all night, out of my control at the moment. Matt Wright did get past Maiger there while I was just trying to sort out the issues once again. So Matt Wright moves up into the podium spots in gold once again then. Can only apologise about the buffering that you are seeing on stream. I am trying as best I can to try and keep this as up to date as possible. The more this buffers, the more I'm thinking we may just have to take this to almost like a radio broadcast. Right, what else is happening out there? Vasic within 4/10 of Damien Hibbs, still doing the same thing. This has to be a YouTube issue because it's just ran so well for a while and then it's just started again. So then, Dan Davis still yet to pit in this race. In fact, I say that, he's into the pits now. So there's McGowan, there's Williams, there's Harris. Harris gaining on the leaders a little bit here. We are just trying to deal with these issues. So again, once again, we apologise for the technical issues that you are experiencing. And hopefully they will sort themselves out. Dan Davis back into the pits now then. McGowan will take the lead. Can Dan get a stop and get out ahead of Vitas potentially? Williams third. Harris fourth. He's getting close. There's Vitas. Dan would love to come out just behind Vitas here. As Dan Davis coming out the pits. In fact, no, he's not. He's still in the pits. So he's going to lose out to Richie Michelle. He's going to lose out to Cardno. Might even lose out to Overtaker here. He's off the limiter. Is Mr. Davis at the moment. So there we go. Hopefully now. No, I'm still having the issues. I'm trying for you all out there to bring you the best broadcast possible, but something is happening on YouTube tonight. It's just not going the way we'd planned. Alexandrov has got past John Goudet. So Goudet now, not only has Matt Wright gained some more points by passing that of Maiger, he's now going to have Matt Wright chasing him down as the stream buffering once again. We're just going to have to call this and take this back face and listen to what we're saying as Maiger's been overtaken by Sokolov there. Stream buffering way too much. Let me know if it's buffering on me, but Maiger's lost out there a little bit. So it's almost a radio watch-along commentary now. You have to take my word for what is happening out there. But Ian McGowan does lead this way with Williams 7/10 behind him. It looks a little bit closer than 7/10. No, still 7/10. Harris 7/10 behind him. He's pulled away from Vitas. 2.2 seconds. Richie Michelle is then in 5th place at this moment. Tom Cardno in 6th, leading in the Gold Championship so far. Overtaker running in P number 7. Dan Davis down in 8th, just ahead of Alexandrov and John Goudet. Matt Wright 9 seconds behind John with just under 14 minutes on the clock. So a big ask if Matt Wright is to chase John Goudet down. Maiger, though, running down in P. '13. Vasic 14th, has got past Hibbs in 15th. Prestige, Mike Matthews, Benny Varga. Throttle issue has took him out of this race, and Piras was also out as well. So, yeah, shame there, but Mike Matthews well been in the wars tonight. He's been out of this race. Alexandrov looking close to the back of Dan Davis. I am going to keep trying to see if this stops buffering, and we'll take you back to the camera screens when we possibly can. But Ian McGowan, 4/10 of a second now in the lead from Brandon Williams. This is for the lead of this race going into the final 13 minutes. I know you can't see the action. Apologies. I'm going to try and bring it to as best the action as best to you as possible. Just imagine you're in the car listening on your radio. Ian McGowan, 4/10 of a second in the lead from Brandon Williams at this moment in time, trying to hold on in there from the Ford Mustang. Michael Harris right there. It's 3 for the lead at the moment as they're all trying to come through turn 1. Ebbing and flowing between the three of them. Alexandrov, love you too, Langley, in the chat. Alexandrov gaining on the back of Dan Davis. Damien Hibbs trying to stick with Vasic, but just can't at the moment. Alexandrov trying to get on the back of Dan. He's got a lot of damage on his car as Alexandrov. In fact, he's been off somewhere because he's back behind John Goudet there. So he must have hit the wall at some stage of this race because he's back behind John Goudet. And Alexandrov looks a little slow. So will this, that for now, that gives John Goudet a couple more points over Matt Wright. But Matt Wright 6.3 behind with 12 minutes remaining in this race. And that car does not look a fast Ferrari out there at all at the moment. Brandon Williams really skipping over the chicanes at this minute in time. And he's trying his absolute damnedest to get onto the back of Ian McGowan, to make the move on Ian McGowan. And to just try and pull away from Michael Harris. But Harris is just closing 10th after 10th at the moment. It's half a second between the two of them in this race. Ian McGowan has done a great job all race long since he got ahead of Brandon Williams to get out front. McGowan has just led from there and has driven brilliantly in this race. Vitas has got no answer for them at the moment. And Brandon Williams coming under pressure from the Lexus. Gap still half a second. Just comes down a couple of thousandths, but opens up to Ian McGowan to 0.8 of a second now. Thanks for the kind words there, Sam. As what will happen in this race. This is going to be an extraordinary end. 11 minutes left on the clock. The closest battle is this fight for the lead. Stream still buffering a little bit, so we'll try and bring you the stream back to you when it stops buffering at the moment, but it is still buffering right now, so I'm going to just keep it as it is for the time being. Gap opens up Williams to McGowan to a second, so McGowan looking a little bit more solidified in that race lead at the moment. Harris trying his damnedest to get closer to Brandon Williams in this one. This is the closest fight for the lead of this race. Matt Wright, 4.3 to Alexandrinov. So he's over 2 laps. He's brought that down 2 seconds. Drive-through penalty overtaker. So that's going to cost him huge. That'll give probably majority of the field, bar Mike and Prestige, an extra position. It's now a stop-go penalty. So I'm not sure what overtaker's just done, but it was a drive-through. Goes through the middle chicane, becomes a stop-go. So must have taken some real big track limits there for that to be amplified to a stop-go 30. Well, that could put him behind Prestige now. Straight into the pits. Not surprised there from overtaker. But that will also give Goudet just a couple more points over Matt Wright. Yes, there won't be a car in between, but the higher up you finish, the more the point spread is overall. If you are new to the channel, remember that points are scored for overall position, not per category. That is the crucial thing to remember in this race so far. And that puts John Goudet up into 8th. It'll put Matt Wright up into P10. P3 in the Gold Championship. In the gold standings at the moment. Williams has got the gap back down to 7/10. Harris looks closer than the 6/10 it's saying on the timing screen though. And the question is, how much do these drivers now want to push with their track limit warnings that they may have in this race? What a race this is turning out to be at the minute. An absolute nail-biter. And you guys can't see it, and I can only offer my sincerest apologies due to the buffering that is going on. Stop-go cleared for overtaker. He's tumbled right down to the bottom end of the field. Prestige has just got past him. But the battle for the lead, a second separates them. I'm not your husband, No Noodles. I don't know who your husband is, but we are experiencing some technical issues with the stream, so we're almost doing like a radio broadcast at the minute. I am the commentator and presenter of SimPlay Motorsport, so I do apologise that I'm not your husband. Who is your husband? And I'll let you know where he is out there on the circuit. But Ian McGowan has just opened that gap up a little bit more. Matt Wright to Alexandrinov, by the way. 4 laps ago, it was over 6 seconds between them. It is down to 0.8 of a second. So the damage to Alexandrov has really started to hurt him. And this could allow Matt Wright to be the place behind John Goudet once again. The top 3 are as close as they've been all race at the moment. And this is absolutely vital. Hibbs is your husband. Down in 14th place at the minute. 2 seconds off the back of Asic, well clear of Prestige. And good to see you too. Thank you very much. Welcome joining in. Welcome for joining the stream. Absolute pleasure to have you here. Brandon Williams within 0.3 of a second now of that of Ian McGowan as they're coming towards that final chicane once more. Matt Wright's within 1/10 of Alexandrov. No, he's not, 'cause he's made a mistake at the first chicane. So Matt Wright's dropped back off the rear of the Ferrari. But Brandon Williams getting close. They've got the traffic of Overtaker and Prestige coming up through turn 1. Ian McGowan is getting closer. Brandon Williams is getting closer and closer to that of Ian McGowan. And he's bringing Michael Harris with him. Has Matt Wright now? Yes, he has. He has got ahead of Alexandrinov. I saw the 73 slow on the track map. So he has got ahead of Alexandrinov here then. And I'm hoping the stream is going to be okay to try and bring you the cameras back towards the end of this race. But 6 minutes on the clock. Matt Wright moves up, third in gold, moves up to ninth. He's 8 seconds behind John. I think he can put that one to bed. I think Goudet's got that one covered, barring any disasters for John Goudet. We've said that before at Zolder. I should know, I was in that race. Brandon Williams, little wide, just coming out the corner at the exit of the middle chicane. He's still, though, ahead of Michael Harris and just extends that gap a little bit. He's closed in on McGowan. Once again, it's 0.4 of a second. Overtaker on Prestige. That is happening right in front of these three as well. Blue flag's not being waved just yet. Sokolov now on the rear of Alexandrov. No, he's not. He's ahead of Alexandrov as we check that out. But Brandon Williams is closing in, inch by inch, around this lap of Zolder, into the final 5 minutes, 20 seconds in this race. Will overtake a look on Prestige into turn one. No, he will not. Might have a look, though, in towards turn number two. Once again, no, doesn't. Gets delayed a little bit. Slow through there. Now gets underneath Prestige at the exit of turn three. So overtaker through. What's happening to Brandon Williams behind? Just pulled away from Michael Harris just a little bit in this race, and he's gaining a bit more on Ian McGowan. Just over 0.4 of a second now is that gap. I've been told from Langley that YouTube is the one that's having issues, as YouTube just went down a moment ago. So it is YouTube. Looks like the lag isn't, the broadcast isn't buffering on my second screen. I can see at the moment. So we are going to go back over to the live camera action. So thank you all for listening to the radio broadcast. We will get back over to that action. And hopefully this lasts for the majority of this race. But this is the battle for the race lead. They've just put a lap on Prestige. Alexandrov dropping down the order a little bit more. Migra would love to get close, but 5.4 seconds in under 4 minutes. Yellow flag somewhere out there. It's gone back to green, so not sure who that was for. It's for the 101. That's Sokolov, who's had a moment out the first chicane. What's the damage like on the front of the car? Not too bad. So obviously just a little bit of a moment somewhere. Overtaker now getting the blue flags. Ian McGowan will be frantically wanting Overtaker to move out of the way. He does not need anybody causing him to lose this race. He's driven so well. Tom Cordno's gaining on Richie Michel. That gap's just under a second also. Overtaker stays right out of the way of the three leaders. Well done from Overtaker there, your race one winner. But Ian McGowan trying his damnedest here to make the move. Michael Harris got a really good run there out that chicane. On board with Michael Harris now, braking hard in towards the second chicane. Gets it stopped and rotated in. Possibly lost a little bit of time, but getting closer to the back of the Brandon Williams car, who's very slow out of the chicane. Coming up the run towards their big corner. Has Harris got the momentum to try and make the move? Michael Harris pulls to the inside line. Doesn't think about sending it there, though. He's going to be patient and wait once again for the move to be done. Michael Harris trying everything he possibly can so far. Really is trying his hardest to get through. This has just allowed Ian McGowan to stretch his legs a little bit more in this race. 2 minutes 15 on the clock. 2 laps left to go. And what will happen? McGowan, 1.2 seconds in the lead. Cordno's got the gap down to 0.8 to Richie Michel. Really needs that with Matt Wright getting ahead of Alexandrov. Needs the extra places, does Cordno, for the points in this championship. Harris has got the fastest lap of the race in Platinum and would love to get on the second step and put more points between himself and Vitas for the championship. Mike Matthews, after being on the podium race one, what a shame race two didn't turn out the same way. Goudet's within 9 tenths of Dan Davis. Sokolov back within 8/10 of Alexandrov. Alexandrov's damage to that Ferrari is just hurting him too much. Maiga, not a million miles away, you know. Brandon Williams, McGowan's had a terrible middle chicane. Brandon Williams right there. He's on the grass a little bit. Brandon Williams almost clips the wall. Rejoining to the circuit. That could have been disastrous at the very end for Brandon Williams. Sokolov still looking to put the move on Alexandrov here, but can't do so at this moment in time. Now looks to the outside line going into the first chicane. Alexandrov just yields the position, knows he's helpless to it. We're about to start the last lap of the race, and all of a sudden Michael Harris is back on the rear of Brandon Williams once again. This is going to be an epic last lap between the front three here at Zolder today. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button if you like what you see, and hit the bell to be notified. The Donington Decider is next week. Pro-Am and Pro. It's only the Bronze Championship to decide in Pro-Am. But all three will still be to be determined in Pro. And then a week off before we start back on LMU on the Tuesday night. Rounding turn 3 towards the first chicane. Harris just having a look. Can't get anything done there. Dan must have made a mistake because Goude's crawling all over the back of Dan Davis. We'll keep our eyes on that fight. But it's all about what's happening here towards the middle chicane. Second chicane on the circuit. In the middle part of the lap, literally towing each other along at the moment. They're almost bumper to bumper, nose to tail as they approach towards the hairpin. For the final time, has Ian McGowan got enough done here to win this race? They've just got the chicane to master. Is Brandon Williams going to maybe try a last lunge? Harris isn't close enough. Williams, I don't think is close enough. This could be Ian McGowan's day. Brandon Williams not close enough at all. Just needs to get the exit as Ian McGowan as he comes towards the final corner. What a race. And Ian McGowan is going to take the race win. Great stuff from McGowan there. Williams in second. Harris, P number 3. A great drive from the three of them. Vitas will come across the line, P4. Good to see from him. Richie Michelle is going to hang on in there for P5. Thomas Cardno will win in the gold category. And Dan Davis has just done enough, it would seem, to fend off that of John Goude. So Dan Davis crosses the line, P7. Goude second in gold and P8 overall. Matt Wright is going to be 9th place overall, 3rd in the gold standings and classification here. Mike Matthews has already finished 17th. Prestige has finished down in 16th place. We're just awaiting Sokolov now to come through. In 10th place, Alexandrov is going to be in P11. Overtaker finished down in 15th position. Maiga, 4th place in gold, 12th place in this race. Vasic comes across for 13th. And then Damien Hibbs, 14th place in this one as well. We lost Benny Varga before the 3/4 distance, but what a race that was. Absolutely incredible stuff there. Really was to see. Gowney with the race win. Tom wins in gold. So then, driver interviews coming your way in just a few moments' time. And I will give you the point standings in just a couple of moments. Just going to remove the remaining points, which shows us who is still in this championship fight. So in the team's championship then, it is a 3-way fight between Balkan Esports, Greasy Bandits Racing and SimPlay Racing going down to Donington Park. They are the only 3 teams that can win this championship. Team SPR are 4th from BSH OZ Racing. Richie's Corsa 6th from Balkan Sim Up, 4Dave Racing, MMS Racing, Team GBR, MSA Racing, Quantum Motorsport, Sleepy Lizard, MSA, BSH Spinners and BAL. In the gold standings, it is Matt Wright who leads by 11 points to Thomas Cardno. So he closes the gap by 9. Maiga sitting in third now is... He's still in it. So is Hibbs, so is Goudet. Big ask, though, for them three at this moment in time, you'd have to say. Prestige is 6th from Benny Varga, Sam Williams, Piras Court, Vasic, Herendich, Gerilic, Gillies. In the platinum category, then, it is that of a 2-horse fight between Vitas and between Class. 71 points separate the two, but don't forget, all these results are provisional, and we'll obviously wait until stewarding has been done, wait until the tables have been posted on our social media platform before we get the confirmation of that. The rest of the platinum order then is then that of Milliston 3rd, Harris is up to 4th, Richie Michel is 5th from Marinich, Mike Mathew 7th from Sokolov in 8th, Alexandrov 9th, Dan Davis 10th from Overtaker, Ian McGowan, Patrick Leger, Pletisek, McKenzie, Ludovic, Williams, Amigenda, Sots and Ben Rook. We are joined in the commentary box by a couple of our podium finishers then here today, and I can tell you that that is that of who do we start with actually? Let's take a look who is fully in there. We'll start with that of Michael Harris for the time being. He was 3rd place in that second race. A much better second race than race number 1, Michael, it has to be said. P3, you'll take that, you'll be happy with that one, I assume.
And qualifying, and the car just suited it better, suited my driving style as well. I mean, qualifying was tight, and I mean tight. But yeah, having us up at the front end of the grid again, it was nice. Getting that overtake done on Vitas, and then just managing him behind, and then also focusing on trying to get P2 and P1. But it's a tight track, and there's not really many places to get past. So yeah, overall, pretty happy with tonight.
Indeed, a solid race too. Like you say, he was on the back of Williams and Vitas for quite a while. It was a really good race to watch or listen into for the viewers who we've been struggling with stream issues this afternoon. But you've got to be happy with that. Obviously, out of contention now for the championship. It's all or nothing now at Donington. You missed it last year for that gold fight, but you get the chance to go out there now. You've hit in a bit of a purple patch at the moment. Podium in the feature race today. Race win last week. Looking good so far going into next week at Donington.
Yeah, it's quite surprising considering the first half of the season. It's nice to be back on form a bit more. Obviously, a couple of the bigger names like Milliston obviously aren't showing up, which I'm absolutely fine with. But yeah, going into Donington, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's been a while since I last raced at Donington with you guys, so yeah, looking forward to that one.
Indeed. Well, good luck next week, Michael. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
We're going to jump over now to Matt Wright's not joined us yet, so I'm not going to do P3 in this. So we'll jump over to Mike Matthews. He was P3 in the first race. Mike, great first race from yourself there. You managed to get yourself on the podium in that one. P3 for yourself. Not the second race, though. Just talk us through what happened.
So I came into the second chicane in the second race. Dan had a wiggle, went wide, so I had to run up the inside. But then he lost traction, and his front end pointed right, and that's all I saw, and that was it. I was gone. There's not really much anything Dan could have done or I could have done differently. It put me in the wall, and I thought, well, I'm down. I'll gamble. Went in the pits. Thought it's pointless changing tyres because I've done one lap, and I could put enough fuel in. So, and I had 26 seconds of damage, and I thought, you know what, let's see if I can do it. But there was just too many corners. It's too tight and twisty. So, hence, I came back in to fix the damage.
It's weird how a racetrack has too many corners, isn't it? Told me it'd be an over race. But a solid first race, though. A really good P3 for yourself. You had a bit of an incident with Ian McGowan coming out of the pit lane that possibly cost you a race win, if not a second place there, because you could have been a little bit closer to overtake when he come out the pit lane in that first race. Just talk us through that one.
Yeah, so I come out the pit lane, and obviously it gives you enough warnings. I stayed tight, which the pit exit is, and I knew he was coming right across. And next minute, I just got clattered in the side. It put us both sideways. Thankfully, we both managed to sort of regain control and get going. But I think both of us could have possibly jumped Overtaker there. So, yeah, not too amused. I reckon if I could have got out in front, it'd have been tight. But I feel I could have defended. I had the pace. It's a track that's not too difficult to defend on if you're matching pace. So yeah, we'll see.
Donington Park next week. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like it. I like it in the Merc. I'm similar to other tracks. I'm all right there. I'm not too shabby. I'm not the fastest. 90-minute race. So let's see how it goes, I suppose.
Just going to pick up on something that you might like it in the Merc. What about in the McLaren?
Oh, did I say the Merc?
You said Merc, yes.
Pass. Yeah, it's good in the McLaren.
Enjoy.
No, I don't remember racing it in the Merc now. And that's a lot longer ago,
Probably
so
Project Cars 2 would have been the last time you've raced it in the Merc. Probably.
Yeah.
Best of luck. Enjoy next week. We'll see you there.
No worries. Cheers. Congratulations to the guys who did quite well. It's an interesting race.
Indeed. We're going to jump over to who's just joined. Matt Wright won the sprint race. We'll go over to John Goudet. I'm trying to get everybody who didn't win a race in first. We'll go over to John Goudet. John! Last time
Hello.
I saw you at Zolder, that I can remember, Leon Fernie took you a race win away from you there. Today, a lot better. Top 10 in the championship. You've kept yourself mathematically in it. You knew it was going to be a long shot after missing the second race. But you're still in contention going into that Donington Park race. And you had a great bit of pace today, great battles with everybody out there. It looked a good race from my side, looking at yourself today.
Yeah, start was a bit of a shaky one. Sokolov going a bit wide, coming back onto the track, which put me into the back of Matt Wright. But after that, it was just kind of getting my head down, just try and pick up positions of where I could. I always knew the Bentley was good pace around here anyway, so it was literally just keep my head down and just try and pick up what I could and try and do something in the pits as well. That was my main thing, try and jump a few people in the pits like I did in race one, and I think I'd done that as well. So yeah, all round a decent night.
It seemed like he was having a good few battles with a few people out there. He was almost up another position to Dan Davis towards the end. He was catching him quite quickly in them last couple of laps.
Yeah, I don't know if he was struggling with his tyres or not, but the back end of his car looked like it was wiggling about a bit. But whether he took tyres or not, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really want to put force the move onto him. I'm not really in that same battle with him, like championship standing wise. So yeah, we'll just see. We'll see what we can.
Indeed. Donington Park next week. What's your thoughts on Donington?
Well, I'd like to say I've always done well around there. But
I've just twigged.
yeah, apart from the last one.
I've just twigged to what you was getting at it, yeah.
So yeah, let's try and not have the reincarnation of that. But yeah, I'm just trying to get my head down, just try and pick up points and try and gain on rounds that I've missed out on. And we'll just see where we can go from there.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, congratulations tonight, John. We'll let you go and enjoy that one tonight. 2 podiums for yourself.
Yeah, cheers, buddy.
We'll go to Erky Coglu now. Sorry, Erky Coglu. We'll go to Brandon Williams. Wrong MSA driver. We'll go to Brandon Williams now. Solid pace tonight. Great qualifying from yourself to put it on pole position. Just not able to get it past Ian McGowan towards the end of that race.
Oh, well, props to him. He put the car in the right place, capitalized on his mistake, and yeah, he was quick. He was super, super quick, so props to him. Yeah, it's just mirroring that lap 1 chicane cut. But yeah, I think the pace was there. The car felt good with the limited practice that I had. And yeah, it's just closest quali I've ever been in my life. So that was, that was something.
1,000th of a second. It absolutely 8,000th of a second back to P3. It was absolutely crazy. Just so tight round Zolder to overtake. So you've really got to hope that the car in front makes a little bit of a mistake, or you can get that overlap. It just didn't happen tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I think you could see with Harris. Harris had the pace. He was quicker than both of us, and he caught us rapidly. But I think it's one thing catching someone, and having the pace to catch someone is another thing. Having the pace to pass.
Yeah.
And I think that was the difficulty here at Zolder. I think these cars are just too big to be racing here now, unfortunately.
Indeed. Donington Park next week. What's your thoughts on Donington?
One of my happy tracks. Love the flow, the ebb and flow of it. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Looking to round off the season pretty strong. When I came back, I started off a bit shady, but yeah, I think it's gonna be good. The Ford does handle some of those curves well, so looking to capitalize on that.
Yeah, should be a good one, Brandon. We'll see you next week. Good, well done tonight.
Thanks much. Take care.
We'll go over to our race 1 gold winner, Matt Wright. Matty. First of all,
I didn't win. Micah won.
Micah did win. You're right. Apologies. We'll go over to our race
P3.
1 and race 2 podium driver then, that of Mathew Wright.
P3 in both.
Matty, first of all, any comments to John Goudet's last performance at Donington Park? I'm joking. I'm joking.
I can't remember it, to be honest.
Stop staring. Stop staring.
No, in all seriousness, good pace in the Porsche. Good pace in the Porsche. It looks like you had damage in both races. You've managed to drag it to 2 podiums here tonight. Good pace. You've just extended that championship lead from when we started tonight going into Donington. So you've got to be happy with the work you've done, considering you once again blabbed your way through it.
Yeah. It was a good night. I think I just got the pit stop done at the right time in the sprint race. Stayed out. Everyone sort of cleared out of the way in front of me and gave me a bit of free air in front, so I stayed out, pushing. And as soon as I got onto the back of Micah, and that's when I thought, right, pit now. I've got better pace than him. And then, unfortunately, I came out just as Goudet and someone else was coming through, so I had to sort of slot in behind them. And Micah managed to sort of jump me by about 3 seconds in the pits. So, it was good race, sprint race. And race 2 was just a case of sort of get my head down. I was hanging with Tom in that first stint. We were kind of different parts of the track. We were each quicker, but sort of evening it out throughout. And it was just a case of kind of wait and see what happens in the pit stops, try and get a good stop and see what happens. But unfortunately, had a bit of a coming together with overtaker through the chicane, which cost me a couple of places. But I'll have to review the footage and see what happened.
Indeed.
But no, it's good night. Good night.
Donington Park next week. It should be an interesting one. Championship decider. There's still 5 drivers, technically, mathematically, that can win this gold championship. Yourself, Tom, Micah, Hibbs and Goudet can all win this championship. So you've still got to get the job done. You've still got to do it once more next week.
Yeah. I'd like to think the Porsche is quite a solid car around Donny. And it'd just be another case of don't push too hard, try and protect the lead now, and keep the car on the track and not push too hard to gain any places, but try not to lose any places as well. And that'd just be see how we get on.
Indeed, see how we get on. Congratulations on the 2 podiums tonight. We'll let you go, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you very much.
We're going to speak to the gold winner before we get on to the platinum winner. Tom, race 1 was not exactly how you planned that one to go, but race 2 was a bit more of the victory. I think your pace in qualifying over the last 3 weeks has shown that you can do. It just hasn't come together until tonight.
Yeah, I mean, last week, we won't talk too much about last week, but the first race tonight was I just pitted too early, really. Just a bad decision, that was all. Obviously, I didn't expect it to be so busy in the pits, and then there was a bit of chaos coming out of the pits, and that was just a bad decision on my part. But race 2 was much better. Quali was good. Managed to actually be consistent tonight and keep the pace that I had from qualifying, and not too different on my sort of full fuel laps. So I was happy. It was a bit lonely, to be honest, apart from the start. I mean, like, Righty was keeping me so honest, and I was sweating and like thinking, oh god, look at the gap, and it would come down to sort of 0.6 and then it'd go back up, and then unfortunately he had his instance after the pits and robbed us of a bit of a good race, maybe, I think, towards the end of that. But I mean, obviously I'm grateful to not be so far behind points wise, but yeah, looking forward to next week at Donny, where we can hopefully have a good battle to close it all off.
Indeed. 5 drivers, like I've just said to Matt, it's in this championship. You're obviously now hunting down that Porsche. BMW, a cracking car at Donington Park. It has to be said. It really is a good car at Donington. Does that give you a little bit of an advantage going into it? You've still got to look over your shoulder, though, at Goudet, at Hibbs, at Maiga. They're still chasing you down for second place. Is it sort of all-out attack next week, or what's almost the game plan?
Well, I mean, obviously I've driven the McLaren around there a lot, and obviously I feel quite comfortable in the McLaren around there, but obviously the BMW being totally different, apart from the pre-season sort of media day that we did, and it felt quite good around there, but we'll see what the ballast is like as well, because it's a bit of a boat around there, I think. But but no, I mean, like I say, I like Donny. I think there's a lot of us that like Donny, so it's going to be a good one, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Indeed. Well, congratulations tonight, Tom. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, cheers, Duffin, and well done to everybody. And yeah, cheers, mate. Nice one. Have a good evening.
You too, buddy.
Cheers.
And
bye.
For a man we've not spoke to for quite a while, in recent weeks we can't stop but hear from him. Overtaker, you're back again.
Thanks, man. But I think it's for the fact of the lack of the faster drivers missing. So I think that's some part in.
You've got to be in it to win it. You was in it, you won it. Race 1 was a good race. Now, McGowan put you under pressure at the very end of that first race, at the end of the last lap. Just talk us through how you handled that pressure a little bit.
Actually, I got quite lucky. I think both McGowan and Williams pitted quite early, so I had clean air and I could just drive my no lines. And after he came out of the pits, I just slowed down a bit because I knew he could not pass me with the Mustang power, so that's why he closed up a bit at the end. But yeah, nice race run, for sure.
It was indeed. Race 2 obviously didn't go the way you wanted it to. You got the stop go towards the end as well. Yeah, just not the race 2 you'd have been hoping for out there.
No, but in all honesty, I didn't have the pace. Maybe top 6 was. I could fight Cardno. I think I could have fighted him, but yeah, like you said, I got a drive-through and then I lost my cool a bit and just drive through the chicane and the game got me stopping at 30, so that was all over. But yeah, regarding the incident with the Porsche, I think I gave him enough space on the entry, and on the exit I think I was ahead with my front tires, so I closed out a bit, but I need to check it again, so I'm sorry if I closed it a bit too much.
Donington Park next week. What's the thoughts for Donington?
Let's see how it goes. I was never super quick there, but I was also not the slowest. So with the lack of the fastest drivers again, maybe I could fight for the podium and speak to you again.
Indeed. Well, congratulations tonight, buddy. Enjoy that one, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, man. Cheers.
So that then is Zolder in the bag. We've got one more week of racing here at SimPlay Motorsport for the ACC GT3 season. Bronze Championship, the only one to be decided on Wednesday night. Simco versus Kruppeljan for that one. But on Thursday, 3 teams can win it. 5 gold drivers can win it. And 2 platinums could win the championship glory. For season number 11, we will be crowning a brand new silver. We have already crowned a brand new silver provisionally. We'll still wait for them championship tables to come out before it is fully confirmed. And we have once again recrowned another team provisionally for the time being. But we will crown new bronze champions and platinum champions as this season goes on. Before then, we have a week's break. We'll be back the week after. We'll be back 2 weeks after ACC finishes with LMU starting back up for season 2 on Tuesday night once again. Hypercars and GT3s in that one. But for me and all of the SimPlay team, thank you for tuning in. Apologies once again for the issues that we had during the stream with the buffering issues. Seems like YouTube was having some sort of problems across their servers, their platforms, whatever it is that it was the issue. We tried to do as best we could. We turned it into a bit of a radio broadcast at one stage. So hopefully I delivered a good enough program for you all to listen to and watch at the stages. But from me and the whole team, we'll see you next week for the finale, for the Donington Decider and the finale of season 11. Goodbye.